is up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. My name is Matt, and I wanted to show you our new TBR shelf. There's a couple of other shelves down here that aren't TBR. Like we have the Wheel of Time books that we got recently in a book haul. They're all on one shelf, and then the shelf below is like some Christian nonfiction, like theology books, and then some Bibles. Like most of our Bibles are on this shelf. But these top two shelves are our TBR shelves. This one is Shawnee's, and this one is mine. Now, if you know us and you know our reading preferences, and you're taking a look at these shelves, you might be a little confused in this moment because there's a few books on my shelf that you might not expect being on my shelf, namely over here on this side. So, as you can probably tell by the title, this month I am going to be reading books that are out of my comfort zone because I have been so tunnel visioned and hard focused on fantasy and science fiction stuff. I wanted to broaden my horizons. I don't want to be married to one genre or like subtype of story. You know what I mean? I want to be able to experience everything that literature has to offer, be it fantasy, general fiction, nonfiction. I just want to read books. It doesn't necessarily have to be a fantasy sci-fi book. Now, those tend to be my favorites. I tend to like those more, but I just want to read. I'll read anything. Maybe not anything, but I wanted to at least try. So I decided on 4 books for this month that I'm going to read. I'm going to read a classic because I typically don't like classics. I'm going to read a nonfiction because I typically don't like nonfiction books. I'm going to read a general fiction / literary fiction. I'm still not entirely sure on the classification for this one, but it's by an author I've heard a lot about, and I don't really read in this genre at all. And then the 4th one is going to be a romance fiction. So I'll start with the one that I picked out on my own, and that is Never Let Me Go by Kazuo Ishiguro. My brain mixes up those vowels every time, and it's annoying. Kazuo Ishiguro. So I had been hearing this author's name quite a bit recently from some other videos by other booktubers that I've been browsing and perusing their channels. But I've heard a lot about this one, and I've heard that this one in particular is his best novel. So I don't know if it's a great idea to start at an author's best, because if it is his best, it's all downhill from here. All that being said, this is a general fiction or literary fiction that I've heard is excellent, and I wanted to give it a shot. And so this is going to be, it's not the first book I'm going to read, but it will be one that I will read for the month of May. Now, the other 3, I didn't necessarily choose this one. It kind of happened upon me. That doesn't make sense. I wanted to read a nonfiction. So I'm thinking, okay, what nonfiction books do I have or have access to? My dad had recently purchased this book, and I expressed some interest in this book. And because I had heard a lot about it, especially on YouTube. If you're ever interested in like the productivity sphere of YouTube, you know, the people like Matt Diavella, Thomas Frank, people like that, I feel like there was a point in time over the last couple of years that a lot of what they were putting out came straight from this book. Because I was in that sphere of YouTube and I watched a lot of productivity YouTube, this was on my radar. It's been on my radar for a while, honestly. I've just never pulled the trigger on it because it's a hardback and I can't find the paperback anywhere. It's probably just like UK or whatever, because that's what America does with books, is just make hardbacks and whatever. But also I think I might have to double check, but there's a part of me that thinks that I own this on Audible because I just bought it with a credit one time. I don't know. I could be wrong. But anyways, my dad bought this recently. I saw it at his house and I was like, oh, that's cool. I want to read that one day. So let me know whenever you finish it. And he was like, just take it. It's going to be a while before I get to it. So this will be the second book that I read for this month. And then I wanted to read a classic because I've never really read a book that is considered a classic and enjoyed it. I mean, like all throughout school, you know, the required reading and stuff like that, that your English classes make you read. Out of all of the books that I read through my school year or school career, there was 4 that I enjoyed. I don't think all of them are considered classics. So I asked Shawnee to help me pick a classic because she was an English major in college and read a lot for college and also for fun. And so she has a better grasp of like classic literature than I do. And we own The Grapes of Wrath by John Steinbeck. And what's cool about this edition is this was her mom's copy when she was in high school. So this is an old book. It smells like Shawnee's grandmother's house. A long time ago, when I decided that I was going to be a reader, I wanted to read this book, and I just have never pulled the trigger on it because it's intimidating, because it's old, and it's not a fantasy story, so it's not one that I immediately run to. So this will be the classic for this month. And the last book I want to talk about during this clip, but the first book that I'm reading this month, I've actually already started it, is Lessons in Chemistry. You can tell I already started it because the book's not in here, because this is just the dust sleeve. Lessons in Chemistry by Bonnie, it's either Garmu or Garmis. But this was Barnes & Noble Book of the Year last year, but I believe it was last year. So there's a ton of hype, or there was a ton of hype for Lessons in Chemistry. It won Book of the Year, so it's probably it has to be widely known. I don't end up on that side of TikTok. Like, I didn't see anybody talking about this for me on my For You page. They were all talking about like the Greenbone Saga or the Broken Earth trilogy or Shadow of the Gods. I didn't see a lot talking about Lessons in Chemistry. However, my dad is very well versed in those types of stories. Like, think rom-coms all the way up to like Colleen Hoover, borderline appropriate smut books. That's his that is his genre. He loves those books. And he had this, and he's letting me borrow it for this challenge. He actually helped me choose this one. It was either going to be this one or Better Than the Movies, which he read both of them recently. And he told me to go with Lessons in Chemistry. So that is the romance that I'm reading for this month. I've already started it, and as of right now, I'm getting through the pages by sheer willpower. Like, I knew that I was going to come into this challenge, start reading these books and not enjoy them, and have to force myself, just brute force my way through the books. And honestly, I kind of at this point in time, as I'm like not even 15% of the way through. No, I might be right at 15% of the way through Lessons in Chemistry at this point. And I don't have a huge desire to finish it. So all that being said, these are the 4 books that I will be reading for the month of May. And I'll be stopping in after I finish every one of them, maybe throughout, like as I'm reading, and giving you more updates as I'm reading the books, but definitely in between each book, I'll give you some updates. And then at the end, I'll give you my final thoughts on my experience and if I will be continuing to read these genres or authors or vibes of books. Vibes? Books have vibes, right? Are genres vibes? Do genres equals vibes, but vibes does not equal genres? Anywho, I really need to get to reading because I feel like I'm behind on this challenge already. I want to have Lessons in Chemistry finished by this Thursday, the 11th, and today is the 8th. So Monday, the 8th. So I really need to get to reading. We'll see how far I can get today and throughout the rest of the week. And I'll give you guys an update once I finish it. See you in the next clip. What is up, everybody? This is Tuesday, the 9th, the day after I did the intro clip. And just wanted to give an update on where I'm at with Lessons in Chemistry. So I, last night before bed, got to about page 100. Almost there. And sadly, I had to go to bed because I had to wake up for a shift at the coffee shop that I work at. And I really wanted to keep reading. So I initially I didn't think I was going to enjoy it. I didn't think it was going to grab me in any way. But last night hit a plot twist that I was not expecting at all in the slightest. I never would have saw this coming. And so my plan for the rest of today, it's around 3, it's like almost 3:30. My plan for the rest of this afternoon and evening is I want to get to at least page 200 before I go to sleep tonight. I get to sleep in tomorrow, so I got a little extra time to read, and I'll be able to read some tomorrow morning. So that's good. And if I can get to page 200, that will get me at least halfway through so I can finish it by Thursday, which is the goal. And with that plot twist, I think that gave me enough fuel to make it to page 200. We'll see what the next 100 pages have in store and see if that momentum continues. But I just want to give you an update that, holy crap, I didn't see that coming. Essentially is all I wanted to say. There are some critiques that I could make about the book, but I'll save those for later. So far, it's good enough, and we'll see what I think as I keep reading.
Eventually.
Today is Monday, the 15th. I thought that I would be a little further along in this challenge, but I'm not as fast of a reader as I thought that I was or could be. But I have finished the first book, Lessons in Chemistry. I finished it Saturday night, one of those days. I finished it, and then I picked up the next book I was going to read was going to be The Grapes of Wrath by John Steinbeck. But as I picked it up, I was talking with Shawnee about it a little bit. She's read it before, and I started to voice some concerns of, I hope I enjoy this book. I hope this isn't boring. It's kind of long. It might take me too long to read it in a month and still read 2 more books in the same month. Because that's what I wanted to do. And so I mentioned something like, hopefully stuff happens enough for me to keep turning the pages. And she was like, oh yeah, nothing really happens in that book. So I am probably going to switch those out. Probably going to switch out that book. So I haven't started the classic yet, but I did start the book by Kazuo Ishiguro, Never Let Me Go. I'm about 10% of the way through with it. I got it from the library. Luckily, it was available, so that works out. Got it off the library, so I'm reading it on my phone while I'm at work. I got around 10% of the way through today during my shift. I'll keep reading this afternoon. But I need to find a new classic to read, and I have a few options me and Shawnee were trying to find one yesterday. And my options are Catch-22 by Joseph Heller, which is thicker than I remember it being, but from what I see online, people say that it's hilarious. Shawnee said that it was like hyper satirical, and I know it has something to do with war, so at least there'll be a little bit of action, probably, most likely. I don't know, maybe that one, or where is it? Here it is. Here's another option: The Catcher in the Rye by J.D. Salinger. This is a shorter one, which is part of the reason that I wanted to read it as my classic for this challenge. Because it is a classic. I've heard a lot of great things about it. And somebody, I think I read online, someone said like the quintessential book for like teenagers today or something. So I'm no longer a teenager, sadly, but I still act like one from time to time. So maybe this would be a good book for me to read. I feel like there was one more that we already own that I was looking at reading, but in this moment, I can't remember what it was. And I don't know what I was just... 1984. That's the third one that we own already that I've been looking at. Because I've wanted to read 1984, but haven't pulled the trigger on it because it's a classic, and I don't read classics very much. But I've heard a lot of good things about it. One of my good friends, actually, from college, said that that's like the best book that she's ever read. But, however, I don't know that any of these are actually the book that I want to read next. So I have these 3 as options, or I can go to Barnes & Noble and buy a new one today. So I will be going to Barnes & Noble. We'll see if I buy anything. But anyways, Lessons in Chemistry, I really wasn't expecting to like. I wasn't expecting to like it at all. But I was also expecting it to be more romancy. I mean, that was the category that I picked it for this challenge. But it wasn't as romancy as I thought it was going to be. I thought it was going to be romance the whole way through. And then there was romance towards the beginning. But then as the book went on, there wasn't much romance. There was a lot of, just a lot of happenings in the main character's story, struggles that she faces as a woman in the 1950s. And there were a lot of things in the book that, as a dude in 2023, really pissed me off. Just the fact that women used to be treated like that. I don't want to go into too much, and that's part of the reason I haven't given like updates as I was reading, because when I've done that in the past in other reading vlogs, I have given some pretty major spoilers, and I'm kind of upset with myself for that. So that's why I didn't want to give updates while I was reading it. And so apologies for that if that's what you were looking for. But I do think it was a great read. There were a lot of hilarious moments. Some of the quotes that I like highlighted or took pictures of or wrote down were like the funniest moments of the book. There was one that I remember taking a picture of that was like sad, and that's why I took a picture of it, but it has to do with a dog. So that automatically gets like +5 emotional points. So that's an easy way to get me to get emotional is dogs. But anyways, I ended up giving Lessons in Chemistry a 4.5 out of 5. And I think that half star was missing because I'm stuck in my ways and I wanted more action. I like books with action. So that's kind of ridiculous that is why I gave it 4.5 stars. But you know what? I gave it 4.5 stars because I felt like it was a 4.5 star read. It didn't feel quite like a 5-star read for me. So that's why I gave it 4.5. So you can fight me in the comments. I don't care. I probably won't respond. For the rest of today and this week, I will be reading Never Let Me Go. And then after that, I'll probably combo Atomic Habits and the classic. Because it turns out a long time ago, I bought Atomic Habits, or maybe my dad bought it on Audible. I looked because I thought that I remembered seeing it there. And sure enough, there it was. So I have it on Audible, and then I have my dad's physical copy. So I'll be able to, I guess, flip back and forth between the physical and audio, and the physical and the audio. So that might help me chip away at that book a little faster. And then today, hopefully I can decide on a classic for this challenge because it's not going to be Grapes of Wrath. I will one day read that. And I will also one day read more Steinbeck. I want to read Shawnee's favorite book is East of Eden by Steinbeck. But I don't know. That will come one day, but that day will not be in this month. So my goal for today is to make a decision on which classic I'm going to read for this challenge. And if I can do that, I will count today a win. So let's see how I do. Okay, so it's been a little bit since the last check-in, and we've made a decision that has hindered my reading. It's slowed me down for sure. Yesterday, actually, we bought a PS5. There, the PS5 over there. And so that is going to take up a little bit of time from my reading schedule, and it's already what day is today? The 19th. It's already the 19th. So like, was that 11 more days left in this month? So I have 11 days to finish 3 books. So I have decided I'm going to cut one. I'm not going to read the nonfiction because I feel like one day I will read it. I've been wanting to read it for a while. But for the purposes of this challenge, I'm going to scrap it. So what will be left is Lessons in Chemistry, which I've already finished at this point. And then, hold on. The other fiction book, Never Let Me Go, that I'm reading currently, I'm around a third of the way through. And then the last time we spoke, I was still trying to decide on which classic I was going to read. And I gave you some options that we owned already that I had been thinking about reading, but I don't know why I gave you those options and wasted time thinking that I was going to read a book that we already owned because we all knew that I was going to go buy another book. So that being said, the classic that I will be reading for this challenge is The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho? Coelho. That sounds like I don't know. I wish I knew how to say his name. Maybe I'm right, maybe I'm wrong. I'm probably wrong. But anyways, I've heard a lot about The Alchemist from a lot of people. It's a very renowned book. I hear about it a lot. I always see it on like tables of books in all sorts of bookstores. So I decided to pick that up because it had been on my radar for a while, just hadn't picked it up yet. So now I have it. I will be reading that. And because I gather entertainment from multiple different mediums, and I bought the PS5 recently, I decided to go ahead and get both of those books on Audible. So I'm going to be playing NHL 23 on the PS5 while listening to the books and killing 2 birds with 1 stone twice for both of the books. So that hopefully by the end of the month, I will have read the 3 books out of my comfort zone. And so far in Never Let Me Go, I didn't realize, maybe I did whenever I purchased it, but before I started reading it, I didn't realize that it was like, there's sci-fi elements to it. It's a little bit science fiction-y, and I didn't expect that. I'm still going to read it, even though science fiction is still kind of in my comfort zone. It's more, I think it's more literary in its focus, therefore out of my comfort zone. And I'm having a little bit of trouble tracking what's going on. I think I know enough. I think I'm tracking enough. So I don't know if that makes sense. But just wanted to update you that we got a PS5. I'm dropping a book, and I will be playing video games and listening to books at the same time. And that's how I'll be spending my Friday afternoon.
One eternity later.
So this challenge video was supposed to come out at the end of May or the beginning of June, and it did not for a few reasons. Allow me to explain. So number one, I got re-addicted to Magic the Gathering and was completely consumed by that, and did not read a book, did not record videos, did not edit videos, and all I wanted to do was play Magic the Gathering. So that's reason number one. Number two, we had some life stuff happen, and I'm not going to go into details. Maybe one day we'll talk about it, but yeah, we just had some big life things happen, and we just kind of needed to focus on other things. And then lastly, the books for these challenge ruined me. The books for this challenge ruined me. I just lost all motivation to read. All of it completely. Like I thought about reading a book, and I just couldn't. I don't know if you can see it, but I got Shadow of the God sitting on the counter over there. I've been halfway through that book for over a year, and I tried to pick it back up after reading these books, and I just couldn't. There was little joy at the moment when I was reading. And I think it's because the books I read for this challenge were such a grind. There wasn't joy out of it. My brain had decided that reading isn't fun anymore. And if these books that I read are some of your favorites, I apologize. But they're just not for me. I wanted to get out of my comfort zone and see what else the world of literature had to offer. And, I think I'm happy in my comfort zone, and I might stay there from now on. That being said, one out of the 3 books that I did attempt to read, I actually enjoyed. And that was the first one, which was Lessons in Chemistry. That one I really did enjoy. However, the other ones, I think Never Let Me Go the story itself wasn't for me, but I really enjoyed, or I could see how I can agree that he is a very well-written person. The dude, his writing style, his prose, and all of that, like he's an exquisite writer in the sense of how he writes. However, the story that he wrote, I don't think was for me. Because I'm more of a plot-driven reader. You know that probably if you've watched the channel before. And this story did not have much plot. There was a lot of character-heavy things, just very heavily character-focused. And so that one I kind of forced myself to get through and finish. And then I had decided that I was going to cut the nonfiction that I was originally going to read, just because of timing, and trying to read 4 books in 1 month was a lofty goal for me. I thought I could do it if I actually enjoyed the books, but because I did not, it made it more difficult. So I decided to cut the nonfiction, and I just went for a classic. And I think there's a clip that I have in here that was me talking about the options I had for classics, and I kind of wish that I would have chose a different one. I DNF'd it. That could have been because the one that I went with was The Alchemist by Paulo Coelho. Maybe is how you say his last name. Paulo something. You've probably seen it if you've been inside of a bookstore. I know that book is like on the top of, or not on the top, but it's included in a lot of the like must-read books that I've seen online. But I mean, if that book is your jam, that's awesome. Like, I'm happy for you. It's awesome that you love that book, but I did not. That one was tough. Now, it could be because of the book that I read before, like already had me on a downhill slope on my joy of reading because I didn't enjoy that book very much. So trying to read a book that's out of my comfort zone after reading another book that's out of my comfort zone and forcing myself to read both of them, I probably I did this to myself. It's totally on me. And, I'm living with the consequences of not reading a book in the entire month of June. So now I'm behind schedule for my goals. We haven't uploaded a video in 2 months. And, we're hopeful to get back to it. But yeah, I think from here on out, for at least a couple years, it'll be a few years before I do this again, if I ever do it again. But for now, I'll just be sticking to sci-fi and fantasy. So if you've watched this entire video and listened to me ramble about books that I typically don't read, that I did or did not like, and me complain about the things that I did to myself, thanks for watching. I appreciate it. If you're not subscribed yet, you can go ahead and hit that subscribe button. If you enjoyed the video, feel free to hit the like button. And I'm going to go keep reading The Secret Project because I've actually been really enjoying it. Bye.